Good evening, everyone. Welcome to CSIS. Thank you for joining us for this very special event. My name is Victor Cha, President of Geopolitics and Foreign Policy and Korea Chair at CSIS, Professor at Georgetown. Our guest of honor today is His Excellency Lee Jae-myung, President of the Republic of Korea. President Lee will deliver an address on foreign policy and U.S.-Korea relations on the occasion of his first summit visit to the White House. Some housekeeping issues before we get started. The first is that CSIS staff will serve as your safety officers at this event, so please follow our instructions should the need arise. You would exit the same way you came in, right through those glass doors behind you. And then the second is the President will speak in Korean with simultaneous translation, followed by a brief conversation with Dr. Hamre with consecutive translation. And so you all have transmitters on your chairs. It's channel 2 for English and channel 10 for Korean. And at the end of the event, we will ask you all to please remain seated until the President has exited the room. We will inform you when we are adjourned and can exit the conference hall. So we're waiting for the President. It's a nice day today. Very nice weather. Yeah. Oh, okay, all right. They told me he's coming in 3 minutes. This is going to be the longest 3 minutes of my life. So could I ask you to please stand and give a warm welcome to the President of the Republic of Korea, President Lee Jae-myung. Let me now, please be seated. Let me now turn the proceedings over to our President and CEO, Dr. John Hamre.
Well, let me just say a hearty welcome to all of you. And let me say how surprised I am. I mean, when we heard the President was coming the last week of August, I thought, we'll never get anybody to show up, and here we've got an absolutely a full house. And I think that reflects the importance of Korea to all of us, and it reflects the important leadership that President Lee is bringing to Korea, and we're really excited to have him here. And I want to say thank you to all of you for coming. I've got this remarkable lineup of dignitaries here, and I'm going to really screw this up, but I want to just say thank you. Carly Hills, former U.S. Trade Representative, Roy Ryu, he's on my board, and so he's one of my bosses, so I really have to say thank you to him for coming. Chuck Hagel, former Secretary of Defense and Senator, Bill Cohen, Secretary of Defense, and former Senator Chris Dodd, former Senator, Rob Portman, former Senator, U.S. Trade Representative. We're so grateful to have you here. He flew in from Ohio, and he's flying back tonight to be here, so we're really delighted. Jim Jones, who is the former SACIR National Security Advisor and Commandant of the Marine Corps. Jim Clapper, National Security Advisor, National Intelligence Director. Kurt Campbell, who is the Deputy Secretary of State. Allison Hooker, thank you for joining us, Undersecretary at Policy at the State Department. Mark Lippert and Sung Kim, who are both ambassadors, and I think also, where is... Thank you very much for coming, Kathy. Kathy Stevens is also here. So just want to say thank you to all of you for honoring us and honoring the president by being here today. President Lee's election was not a normal election. It occurred in the context of a diplomatic crisis, in a constitutional crisis in Korea. And, I think all of us were just so unsettled by what we saw. And it was, the Korean people stood up. The Korean people asserted their democracy. And it was very reassuring to those of us that have dedicated our lives to building a stronger Korea. We were so gratified to see Korea being a strong democracy. And then in a few months, they elected President Lee. And it was because you're bringing that new direction for Korea, President Lee, and we want to say thank you to that. This is the first time that President Lee is going to give a talk on foreign policy. And so I would ask you, with your enthusiastic applause, to please welcome President Lee Jae-myung to the dais for his comments.
I understand that it is vacation time, but nevertheless, there is a lot of people here. Thank you so much. Before I read the prepared script, well, as it was just mentioned by Dr. John Hamre, it is true that the Republic of Korea experienced a crisis, and probably the entire world was alarmed, because in a country like Republic of Korea, a coup, a martial law, and then again you were probably surprised that such a political crisis was overcome through the peaceful actions of the people, and the recovery of the democracy of Korea probably surprised the world. As many people know, the Republic of Korea is the only country among those liberated from colonial rule that has achieved democracy and industrialization at the same time. We were able to achieve rapid growth within a very short period of time. And probably the Korean people can be felt like the heroes and heroines of a storybook. But aside from the traditional religion of Korea, we have Christianism and Buddhism and many different religions, but we do not have religious conflicts. We have harmony among diversity, and we have been able to showcase a new type of culture to the world. Korea has establish itself as a cultural powerhouse, but I do believe that it will also be soon known. It is my expectation and hope that it will be known as a model case of democracy. Well, in the textbooks, we have learned about democracy and that how it has stemmed from Athens of Greece. But if you look in the reality, well, in 2024 winter, perhaps that might be recalled as the origin of democracy. You might know that there is an animation, K-pop Demon Hunters. And if you watch that, you might have caught a glimpse of what a country, the Republic of Korea, is. But if you look at the culture of Korea, well, I think that democracy, is the ultimate form of culture and arts. Because the entire world, well, at a time when there is confrontation and conflict and far right and many difficulties and challenges, but nevertheless, the Republic of Korea was able to overcome a chaotic situation, self-coup. But the protesters were enjoying themselves, singing, and also without shedding a single drop of blood, we were able to overcome that crisis. And I do believe that that is a model case of democracy. So please keep your eye on the new Republic of Korea. And let me now go into my prepared script. Honorable Dr. John Henry, President of the Center for Strategic and International Studies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us despite it being vacation time. It is a pleasure to meet you. At a time when the global landscape and regional security conditions remain challenging, CSIS, a leading think tank in Washington, D.C., which has long maintained a special focus on the alliance between the Republic of Korea and the United States, has graciously organized today's event, and I would like to express my deepest gratitude to CSIS. The Republic of Korea, as I mentioned before, is unique among nations liberated from colonial rule, having achieved both industrialization and democratization at the same time. It is a global leader of cutting-edge technology that is poised to reshape the future of humanity and a cultural powerhouse that is rewriting the standards of creative industries with content that moves and delights audiences around the world. At the heart of our shining achievements lies the determination and talent of the Korean people who have turned crisis into opportunities at every critical juncture in history. However, without the contribution of the U.S. and the international community, Korea would not be where it is today. In the process of rapid economic growth, also known as a miracle on the Han River, and the fight for democratization against a brutal dictatorship, the support and cooperation from the U.S. have always been a great help to Korea. The solidarity between Korea and the U.S., which has endured for over 70 years, proved its strength as we overcame a military self-coup attempt on December 3rd of last year. The power to suppress the armed coup forces without shedding a single drop of blood came from the Korean people who participated in peaceful protests, demonstrating to the world vivid vibrancy of K-democracy. Yet, it is also thanks to all of you leaders in the American political and social circles who have expressed unwavering trust, solidarity, and support for our efforts to restore democracy. The new government was elected by the people who cherish freedom and democracy. And we are ready to further strengthen the alliance we have with the ROK, between the ROK and the U.S. As a member of the liberal democratic community, Korea has benefited from growth and development, and it stands ready to shoulder its responsibilities in return. Korea's democracy and the ROK-US alliance have endured numerous challenges, and we are faced with a turbulent international situation and new daunting challenges. Immediately after the June 3rd presidential election in Korea, CSIS released a report titled South Korea's New President, Frying Pan to Fire. And And the title of this report speaks volumes about the grave reality facing my country. Today's challenges are numerous and complicated, including North Korea's continued nuclear and missile development and military cooperation with Russia, the serious security environment surrounding Ukraine and the Middle East, and global supply chain issues concerning energy and critical minerals. To address these unprecedented challenges, wisdom to turn crisis into opportunities and build a foundation for a new development is more urgent than ever. Against this backdrop, I believe that the best approach we need is about responding to quickly changing global affairs with strategic insight and flexible thinking, which can be called as pragmatic diplomacy, centered on national interests. And the backdrop and the backbone of pragmatic diplomacy centered on national interests is the ROK-US alliance, which has played a pivotal role for peace and prosperity. Our two countries have fought side by side on many battlefields to defend peace and prosperity. And so, we stand together as security allies. Once a recipient of American aid, Korea has become the largest greenfield investor in the U.S., helping Americans enrich their lives. And so, we support each other as economic allies. Building on our security and economic alliance, I am committed to opening a new chapter of pragmatic alliance centered on national interest together with President Trump. At the summit meeting today with President Trump and I agreed to make and modernize our bilateral alliance to be more reciprocal and future-oriented in line with the changing security landscape. The U.S. defense commitment to the Republic of Korea and our joint defense posture remain unwavering and ironclad. At the same time, Korea will take a more leading role in maintaining security on the Korean Peninsula. First of all, we will increase our defense budget, which will be used to transform the Korean military into a smart military that will prevail in future warfare. And so we will use it to acquire cutting-edge technology and military assets. At the summit meeting, President Trump stated his willingness to actively support Korea's efforts to strengthen its military capabilities and further expand bilateral cooperation in the advanced defense industry. Our two countries' capabilities and posture will be further expanded and strengthened to thoroughly respond to a constantly changing security landscape and rising threats.
While the Iraq-US alliance has made remarkable progress, there remains on the Korean Peninsula an unresolved legacy of the past century, which is the North Korean nuclear issue. Maintaining the goal of a denuclearized Korean Peninsula is extremely important to bring permanent peace to Korean Peninsula and the world. President Trump and I have agreed to work closely together to establish peace and achieve denuclearization on the Korean Peninsula. Obligations under the Non-Proliferation Treaty must be strictly observed on the Korean Peninsula, and it is evident that that is in the interest of both Koreas. The Republic of Korea will comply with the NPT regime and strictly keep its commitment to denuclearization. The inter-Korean relations are not an exception to the principle of pragmatic diplomacy centered on national interests. Korea and the U.S. will make efforts to have dialogue with North Korea while firmly responding to North Korean provocations. The Korean government has taken a series of measures to reduce inter-Korean tensions in order to prevent accidental confrontations, while North Korea has stopped propaganda loudspeaker broadcasts which harass residents in the border areas. Those residents who were not able to sleep at night, even with the help of sleeping pills, have expressed gratitude to my administration, saying that they can at last enjoy a good night's sleep. I am confident that inter-Korean relations based on reconciliation and cooperation will benefit the Korean Peninsula as well as the U.S. When a path for denuclearization, peace, and coexistence is finally open on the Korean Peninsula, the ROK-US alliance will be upgraded in a global context. The approximately 200,000 Americans and 28,500 U.S. troops in Korea will be safer, and people in our two countries will lead more prosperous lives. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, in an era where national security significantly impacts the quality of people's lives and the future of a nation, security and economics cannot be thought about separately. Today, President Trump and I agreed to cooperate closely to ensure that our alliance will make our people's lives more prosperous. The tariff deal that our two countries have made will serve as a stepping stone to strengthen advanced technology cooperation between our two countries. The K shipbuilding industry, equipped with the world's strongest capabilities, will bring about a renaissance of the U.S. shipbuilding industry and create a new historic turning point for mutual prosperity. Korea and the U.S. will boldly take on the challenge of our times, where security and economics converge through advanced technology alliance. A future where different countries cooperate and achieve mutually beneficial growth. Does it sound like a dreamy, rosy future? It is a dream that can come true because our people, the strongest foundation of our alliance, are realizing this ideal. Despite the vast distances across land and sea between the two countries, nearly 3 million Koreans and Americans are visiting each other's country annually, expanding exchanges and deepening friendships. Hollywood movies and rock and jazz music have long been loved by young Koreans. Now, young people in Korea and the U.S. feel a strong connection as they listen to the soundtracks of K-pop Demon Hunters, which is streamed globally on Netflix. Just as hamburgers and pizza are no longer solely American, kimbap and ramen are no longer exclusive to Korea. A video featuring a Korean-American girl in a New York City elementary school making kimbap for lunch went viral on social media. A popular Korean hamburger franchise opened its first store in the U.S., home to the hamburger, drawing large crowds. Indeed, we are witnessing a new chapter in the history of the ROK-US alliance, where our people share a heart of trust and make each other's lives more prosperous. And another partner who cannot be left out in this new chapter is Japan. Before I came to the US, I visited Japan first, a next-door neighbor sharing the same yard. I recall that President Trump has emphasized the importance of trilateral cooperation among Korea, the U.S., and Japan since his first term in office. Together with President Trump, I will further strengthen trilateral cooperation based on the ironclad ROK-US alliance. The three countries will respond jointly to North Korean nuclear and missile threats and step up efforts to achieve peace and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific region and the world. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, our great alliance was forged amidst trenches and gunfire on the battlefield, but over the past 70 years, it has transformed into an alliance that covers a wide range of areas, including shipbuilding, AI, semiconductors, quantum technology, and nuclear energy. And even at this moment, the alliance is authoring a new chapter of history. A future-oriented, comprehensive, strategic alliance is firmly rooted in the three pillars of security, economy, and advanced technology. And this ironclad alliance, founded on pragmatism and national interests for our people, will shine brightly. The golden era of the ROK-US alliance has yet to come, not because we lack in something, but because we have unlimited potential to realize. Together, we can achieve even greater things. For our glorious moments to come, 같이 갑시다. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. What a wonderful presentation. We're really grateful that you gave us the time. Like everybody in this room, I'm going to ask the question they want to ask, which is, how did it go? I mean, you had this private meeting with the president. He's a different kind of a president. How did it go?
우선은 이 트럼프 대통령께서 이미 저를 만나기 전에 SNS를 쓰지 않았습니까? 매우 위협적으로 SNS를 쓰셨고 또 기자회견에서 이미 또 한국 정부의 수사에 대해서 한국 정부 여기 있습니다. 아침에 기자들과 기자회견을 하면서 한국 정부가 미군 기지에 압수수색을 했다. 한번 따져봐야 되겠다 이런 말씀까지 하셔서 우리 참모들 사이에는 이거 젤렌스키와 트럼프 같은 상황이 벌어지지 않을까 이렇게 우려를 했습니다.
I think your interpreter is going to now.
그런데
So before, first of all, before I met with President Trump today, he posted on Truth Social a very threatening post, which I felt. And then during the press gaggle, he mentioned about the Korean government's investigations regarding the previous government, and he mentioned that he would look into the search and seizure of U.S. bases. And so my staff was worried that we might face a Zelensky moment.
그런데 저는 이미 그렇지 않을 거라는 점을 알고 있었습니다.
But I already knew that I would not face that kind of situation.
왜냐하면 제가 트럼프 대통령이 쓴 거래의 기술, The Art of the Deal을 읽었기 때문이죠.
That's because I had read President Trump's book, The Art of the Deal.
이분이 협상의 하나의 기술로 상대가 감내하기 어려운 조건을 던지긴 하지만 최종적으로 불합리한 결론에 이르게 하지는 않는다라는 게 본인이 이미 써놓은 내용에 있고 이미 그 이전 여러 협상에서 그런 모습을 보여줬기 때문에 한국과 미국 간의 이 한미동맹은 매우 중요해서 거기에 큰 상처를 내는 그런 일은 벌어지지 않을 거라고 제가 확신했습니다.
So, as President Trump said, as a technique in negotiating, that he presents conditions that are hard to accept for the opponent, but at the final stage, he does not come to an unreasonable conclusion. So, and this was the pattern that I observed in his previous negotiations with other countries, and because of the importance of the Korea-U.S. alliance, I was confident that he would not inflict a wound to our alliance.
그리고 실제로 이제 우리 회의나 또는 이제 식사 시간의 얘기는 매우 진지하게 협력적으로 이루어졌고 우리가 기대했던 것보다 훨씬 더 많은 것들에 대해서 대화되고 또 양해하고 또 격려를 받았기 때문에 예정된 시간보다 훨씬 더 많은 시간을 결국은 대화하게 됐고 그래서 이 모든 행사 수년이 돼서 여러분과의 이 모임도 늦어지게 된 것입니다.
As for the actual summit meeting and our luncheon meeting, we had very good conversations, and I would like to say that my meeting with President Trump was beyond my expectations. So we had very good conversations. We increased our understanding, and I received a lot of encouragement from President Trump. And so our meeting surpassed the planned time, which was why this event was also a bit delayed.
그래서 결과는 아주 좋았습니다.
So the results were very good.
모든 사람들이 저한테 그런 조언을 했습니다. 인내해라.
So everybody gave me the advice to have patience.
Yeah, we're very happy. We're very happy it was a good meeting. Mr. President, I want to ask you maybe a hard question. Korea's always had a very strong alliance with the United States, but you've also had very strong economic ties with China. And there are some people that say, well, you're going to lean to China on economics, you're going to lean to the United States on security. And then there are some critics, honestly, who say you're too pro-China. Could you respond to that?
대통령님, 그 질문을 제가 한 가지 드리겠습니다. 한국은 항상 강력한 한미 동맹을 견지해 왔었고, 그렇지만 또 경제적인 측면에서는 중국과 긴밀한 관계를 맺어왔습니다. 그렇기 때문에 혹자는 한국이 미국에는 안보를 의존한 채 경제적인 실익은 또 중국을 비롯한 다른 곳에서 취한다는 그런 의문을 제기하기도 했습니다. 그래서 이러한 주장들에 대해서 대통령님께서 어떠한 입장을 가지시는지 좀 문의드리고 싶습니다.
일단은 이제 미국이 중국에 대해서 일종의 강력한 견제 정책, 심하게 얘기하면 이제 봉쇄 정책을 본격적으로 시작하기 전까지는 한국이 이제 안보는 미국, 경제는 중국 이런 입장을 가져왔던 건 사실입니다.
So before the U.S. had a very firm position against countering China or containing China, it is, I guess it could be said that Korea relied on its security on the U.S. and its economic cooperation with China.
그런데 최근에 이제 몇 년 사이에 이 자유 진영과 또 중국을 중심으로 한 진영 간의 공급망 재편이 본격적으로 벌어지고 또 미국의 정책이 명확하게 이제 중국을 견제하는 방향으로 가면서 한국도 과거와 같은 태도를 취할 수는 없는 상태가 됐습니다.
However, within in the recent few years, and as the confrontation between the liberal democratic community and the community led by China, the competition has become fierce and the supply chains are being readjusted accordingly. It's no longer possible to maintain that kind of logic.
그런데 이제 미국도 중국과 기본적으로 경쟁하고 심하게는 대결하면서도 또 한편으로는 협력할 분야에서는 협력하고 있는 게 사실입니다.
However, if we look at the facts, while the U.S. is competing with China in some areas, there are other areas in which the U.S. is cooperating with China.
그래서 한국은 미국의 중국에 대한 수출 규제나 아니면 중국에 대한 거래 공급망에서 우리가 중국과 특별한 관계를 맺거나 하는 데서는 많이 벗어나 있고 지금은 우리가 지리적으로 매우 가깝기 때문에 거기서 생겨나는 불가피한 관계를 잘 관리하는 수준 그런 수준으로 우리가 유지하고 있는 것이지 이제는 이제 미국의 이런 기본적인 정책에서 어긋나게 행동하거나 판단할 수 없는 상태입니다.
So Korea is currently kind of a distance from America's export controls and supply chain controls regarding China. But because we are geographically very closely located to China, we are maintaining our relationship with China. Yes, and that is, yes, we are maintaining our relationship with China.
Thank you, President. I was very thoughtful. Let me ask, you mentioned in your speech that you've taken steps to take provocative things away from North Korea. You've stopped with the loudspeakers, for example. You said people can sleep at night. And yet, North Korea has responded with some really kind of rude things, not very encouraging comments that suggest that there's any prospect of working with Korea. What do you think are practical opportunities with North Korea that you could explore?
대통령님께서 최근에 그 북한에 대해서 도발적인 행동을 자제하는 그런 조치들을 취해 오신 것으로 알고 있습니다. 예를 들어서 접경 지역에서의 확성기를 제거를 하셨고 그거에 대해서 주민들이 드디어 그 편안한 잠을 잘 수 있다는 얘기도 한 걸로 알고 있습니다. 그럼에도 불구하고 북한의 반응이 좀 거칠었고 호의적이지만은 않았습니다. 그래서 이러한 상황을 타개하기 위해서 대통령께서 어떠한 방도가 있으신지를 문의드리고 싶습니다.
한반도는 여러분 모두 아시는 것처럼 전 세계에서 유일하게 분단된 국가입니다.
So the Korean Peninsula, as you well know, is the only region that is facing a divided situation.
그냥 분단된 국가 정도가 아니라 서로를 절멸하고 싶어 할 정도로 적대성이 강하고 엄청난 규모의 군대, 그다음에 엄청난 무기들이 직접 부딪히는 세계에서 군사 밀도가 가장 높은 나라죠.
And it's not just a simple division, but it is a very antagonistic division where both sides aim to get rid of the opposite side, and both sides are maintaining large armies and have great weaponry, and the density in terms of military strength is very concentrated.
그래서 북한을 억제하기 위해서 엄청난 제재를 가했지만 결과는 끊임없이 핵무기를 개발하고 미사일도 개발해서 이제는 재진입 기술 마지막 단계만 남겨놓고 핵폭탄을 싣고 미국까지 날아올 수 있는 ICBM이 거의 개발되어 있는, 그리고 매년 약 10개에서 20개 정도의 핵폭탄을 만들 수 있는 역량을 계속 키우고 있는 그런 상태가 됐습니다.
And in response to North Korea, we have made efforts to deter North Korea and apply sanctions, but the result has been North Korea's continued development of its nuclear and missile programs. And now North Korea is close to completing this program. They are at the final stages of developing ICBMs, which can target faraway distances, and they are accumulating 10 to 20 They are able to produce 10 to 20 nuclear weapons per year.
이미 22년보다 지금 이제 3년 사이에 핵폭탄 보유 숫자가 이제 2.5배로 늘어났다. 그리고 핵물질 생산 능력은 엄청나게 늘어났다라는 게 이제 객관적인 사실이죠.
For the past 3 to 4 years, the hard facts are that the number of nuclear weapons that North Korea possesses has increased 2.5 times during the past 3 to 4 years, and their ability to produce fissile material has increased tremendously.
그래서 우리 한국 입장에서는 강력한 방위력은 보유하고 끊임없이 무기 체계 장비를 개발해서 군사적으로 압도하고는 있지만 이 재래식 무기에 있어서는 우리가 압도적으로 앞서더라도 이 소위 핵무기에서는 우리가 전혀 갖고 있지를 못하기 때문에 그야말로 엄청난 재래식 무기, 그다음 그들의 핵무기, 이게 공포의 균형을 이루고 있는 상태가 됐죠. 그리고 점점 더 악화되고 있습니다.
So from the perspective of Korea, we are increasing our defense capabilities by developing overwhelming conventional weapons. So although we are way in advance of North Korea in terms of our conventional weapons capability, we do not have nuclear weapons, and therefore there is a balance of fear between on the Korean Peninsula, but the situation is deteriorating.
그래서 강력하게 제압은 하되 상황이 더 악화되지 않게 하기 위한 구체적 노력도 좀 필요하다는 게 저희 생각이고, 그러기 위해서는 더 이상 생산하지 않는, 더 이상 확산되지 않게 하는 다른 나라로 미사일 ICBM 개발도 이 상태에서 멈춰서 미국의 현실적 위협이 되지 않게 하는 이런 현실적 방법을 찾아야 된다는 게 저희 생각입니다.
So my belief is that we should find a realistic way to stop North Korea from producing more and from proliferating and stopping their development of ICBMs so that it cannot become a threat to North Korea. So we have to maintain a strong deterrence against North Korea, but we have to make efforts so that the situation does not become worse.
가난하지만 사나운 이웃은 그냥 억압한다고만 모든 게 해결되지는 않고 필요하면 적절하게 관리할 수단도 필요하지 않을까. 그게 훨씬 더 안전하지 않을까 하는 생각을 하는 겁니다.
So we cannot solve the problem by simply suppressing North Korea. We also have to have the wisdom of managing the situation if it is necessary to do so.
I think that's entirely right, Mr. President. I also think it's very important to emphasize deterrence and for Korea to trust America with its pledge of extended deterrence, because that becomes a foundation for this.
대통령님 말씀에 전적으로 공감합니다. 그리고 그 확장 억제의 중요성이 중요성을 강조하고자 합니다.
Mr. President, your schedulers have told me I have to end by 7 o'clock, but I do want to ask one last question. You were elected after a tragedy with the declaration of martial law, and you became the president of a very divided country. Now, we're a very divided country, so we don't hold out a model. But what can you do to have become the president of all Koreans?
대통령님, 제가 그 7시까지 꼭 끝내야 된다는 얘기를 들었지만 이 소중한 기회여서 대통령님께 마지막으로 한 가지 질문만 더 드리겠습니다. 대통령님께서는 계엄이라는 비극을 딛고서 당선이 되셨습니다. 그렇기 때문에 그 한국은 지금 매우 분열된 상태이고 분열된 국가의 지도자이십니다. 그렇지만 미국도 마찬가지로 매우 분열된 상황입니다. 그래서 대통령님께 제가 드리고 싶은 질문은 그 모든 한국인의 대통령이 되기 위해서 어떠한 노력을 하실지 여쭙고 싶습니다.
제가 여러분들한테 하나 이제 보여드리고 싶은 게 있습니다.
There's something that I want to show to you.
수만 명 또는 수십만 명, 심하게는 100만 명, 이 엄청난 숫자의 시민들이 모여서 정치적 주장을 하고 저항을 하는데 불 지르는 사람도 없고 무언가 부서지지도 않고 누군가 폭행당하지도 않는 그런 유형의 이 정치적 행위가 벌어지는 곳이 바로 대한민국입니다.
So the Republic of Korea is a place where tens or hundreds or millions of people, citizens gather and they put forth their political arguments and they resist. But all of this takes place peacefully, without violence, without people lighting fires and without people vandalizing goods. And so this is the political situation, the strength of Korea.
그리고 아까도 말씀드렸지만 현실 정치 권력을 피 한 방울 흘리지 않고 사람들의 아름다운 율동, 노래 이런 걸로 끌어내리는, 그것도 8년 만에 2번씩이나 그런 나라는 전 세계에 사례가 없습니다.
And the Korean people, they resisted a living power without shedding blood, and they were able to remove a leader through singing songs and dancing dances, and this happened twice over the last 8 years. And there is no other country that did this besides Korea.
그래서 한국 국민들의 이런 정치적 또 문화적 저력은 정말로 높은 거죠.
So the political and cultural strength of the Korean people, I believe, is incredible.
그래서 저나 또 정치 세력이 할 일은 조금 더 양보하고 선을 긋거나 벽을 치지 않고 다 만나고 대화하고 그리고 그들의 입장을 서로 이해하고 또 협력할 건 협력하고 이걸 끊임없이 최대한 최선을 다해서 하는 것이 유일한 길인데 저는 그런 노력들을 충분히 한다면 얼마든지 이 문제는 해결할 수 있다. 최소한 대한민국에서는 그렇게 생각합니다.
So I believe that the things that politicians, including myself, what we should do is to make more compromises, and instead of setting barriers, we should meet frequently and have conversations and increase our mutual understanding and cooperate in areas that we can cooperate. And if we make such ceaseless efforts, I think this is the only way to achieve the question that Dr. Hamry that you answered. And I believe that if we make sufficient efforts, then it is possible. But it is possible because it is Korea.
I think that's good advice for America, too, I should say. We're at the hour. Could I ask you all, with your very enthusiastic applause, say thank you to the President. Thank you all very much for being here.